What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Beyond ARTV. It's time for another episode of Not a Podcast. This is episode 3. This is a series that I'm doing semi-regularly, no set schedule. I'm trying to do it maybe like every 3 to 5 weeks, just inviting internet friends on to chat about various topics. I usually let them kind of bring up something and then we go from there, kind of brainstorm it. Today I had the LP Club on here, kind enough to send me a Wolf Alice record that I was not able to grab on record store day because my local record store didn't have it by the time I was able to get there. So shouts out to him. I told him I'd have him on here, and he's actually a really cool dude. Younger kid, up and coming YouTuber. Make sure to check out his channel. It's linked in the description down below. Very, very intelligent, I think, for his age. If you're looking for a second opinion on a record, maybe check out the channel. It's linked down below. If you're curious and would like to help out this channel, Beyond ARTV, help not series like not podcast keep coming, support on Patreon is linked in the description down below if you'd like to check out the various rewards and stuff on there. Just getting that launched recently, so if you could support, it would greatly help the channel. Thanks for watching, hitting the like button, subscribing, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the podcast.
And just like that, I'm here with Ethan of the LP Club, here to talk about kind of how our parents shaped our taste in music and just what it's like growing up in different households. Ethan, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Ethan and I actually met at a concert, Wolf Alice, about, I think it was back in April, right? Yeah. It was pretty cool. It's always cool to, it's nice running into people that, like, you know, you recognize from the online hemisphere, you know? So, right off the bat, Ethan, I'm 24 and you were 13, correct?
Yes.
And the main thing that we wanted to get across here is just like, when I was his age, I think that I was at a very influential point in my, I guess, musical taste and like shaping them and that sort of thing. And my parents kind of shut down what I was interested in listening to, even though I was raised on, you know, some of the classics like the Beatles and that sort of thing. Those were acceptable, but it was a very religious household, and I was mainly allowed to listen to like Christian, contemporary, and, you know, classical stuff. Maybe some country as well, but you know, a little rumor has it that you've grown up a little bit differently.
Yeah, no, I started listening to music from, like, bands like the Beatles and a lot of classic rock. The Beatles are still one of my favorite bands, if not my current favorite band of all time. And that's how I was brought up listening to a lot of classic rock, Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, uh, and also 80s and 90s stuff along with that. And eventually, when I got a little bit older, I started to get into more modern stuff. But yeah, my parents started me off with a lot of classic rock.
How do you think that you branched out from there, obviously, and that kind of got you in on the ground level, but I guess what made you want to venture out from that and try new things?
Well, I feel like it was just the overabundance of eventually like hearing pop music and feeling like, well, this is kind of sickening, and then also being like a little bit tired of classic rock at a point. And then I just kind of heard an Arctic Monkeys song, and that's just what kind of changed it. And I think that song was "Do I Want to Know," but right around then, I kind of just started listening to the local alternative station, hearing all these great songs. 2013 was a really great year for alternative radio.
Oh yeah.
And I slowly, definitely, yeah, there was so much good stuff coming out then. And I slowly just got into that. I remember getting into after that Arcade Fire, Black Keys, The White Stripes, and it eventually just slowly built up, and I'm where I am now. A fan of like a bunch of different genres with like alternative rock, classic rock. I like a lot of hip hop too on the side. I like a bit of electronic, and it's really kind of well shaped and well crafted taste in music. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
I know. I fully agree. And honestly, the first time I ever saw you in, I don't know if it was in the comment section of one of my videos or you tweeted me a link to one of your videos or something. I was impressed by how, I guess, well spoken and knowledgeable you were about music for your age. Because at that time, if I was making YouTube videos at age 13, well, first of all, YouTube was brand new and we would have been looking at 240p quality. But other than that, I mean, I probably would have come off as just completely ignorant and not knowing what I was talking about, aka me whenever I started my channel when I was 17 and still didn't know what I was talking about. It's just, I'm a little bit jealous, to be honest, because I think that you getting into music at that age and kind of being able to dive into it a little bit more and things being a little bit more at your fingertips for you now, whereas Spotify did not exist, streaming music wasn't a thing, you couldn't really go on YouTube and watch that many music videos. I think that that's a really cool advantage that you have because me sneaking around and having to listen to music behind my parents' back, it was like recording on cassettes and like burning mix CDs and that sort of thing and having to sneak those around. So
That
I think it's pretty cool.
that sounds just so much fun. Just a blast to be burning cassettes
Oh,
behind your parents' back.
oh yeah, trust me, it was the most fun a guy can have. I remember I had several because my dad was like very like he would always enforce it, and he would come into my room if like he heard like listening to music at night or something like that. If I accidentally like unplugged the headphones and like the music started blaring, he would know that I was in there like listening to music, and he would come and like take my little cassette player that I had and had a radio on it, and I would record songs like off of the local alternative station. And at the time that I got into music, you mentioned the White Stripes. The White Stripes were huge then. This was 2005, so we're talking White Stripes, Yeah Yeah Yeahs, The Strokes, a lot of bands like
Oh
that at
yeah.
the time, and even Arctic Monkeys. I mean, I got into them from their first record, and I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. So it's cool that you said that was kind of one of the first songs. Do I Want to Know? That kind of got you into branching out, trying new things. Um,
Yeah.
Looking at it now with some of these artists that you look back on, and I assume that you've looked into some of these discographies as well. I mean,
Oh yeah.
looking back at like Arctic Monkeys, how do you feel about it? Because I feel like maybe I was a little bit biased towards maybe liking something from the Strokes that came out in 2005 a little bit more than what came out in 2001. But the people who were with them from the start will probably argue that their first album is the best album. Do you think that getting into a band at a certain time really like affects the way that you look at their discography and kind of gives you a bias towards the album that got you into them?
Mm. I think for a lot of people it definitely could, because you'd be like, oh, this is so great. I know people who don't know anything before Do I Want to Know and only know Do I Want to Know, just for an example, and will think it's such a great song. Well, personally, like looking back on it, I don't really love that song much. It's still a really good song, but in comparison to pretty much all of their debut record, Fluorescent, Adolescent, and just so many great songs after that, there's a whole discography to get into, and I hate people who just stick to like one album and it's the very big commercial breakthrough. Because if you say you love a band, definitely look back on them. Like, don't just stay and keep looking at the same album over and over.
Yeah,
I definitely think it could affect it in like a negative way, because you'd be very biased towards one record.
right. That'd be like me trying to chime in on a Radiohead discography review whenever I haven't even looked. I just started listening to Radiohead a little bit more, and I got into A Moon-Shaped Pool. Really enjoyed the new record, but for me to call that their best album just like that and have never heard all of their albums even in full or spent the amount of time with those albums that I did with The Moon-Shaped Pool, like you said, it would come off, I feel like, incredibly biased. So that's definitely an interesting point because I feel like you said, a lot of people will do that, and it's just like Fall Out Boy with they've had two, I feel like, renaissances, if you will, with their music and their commercial
Yeah.
success. They kind of peaked, I think, in 2007 the first time with Infinity on High. And, there's some people that will still to this day only know Thanks for the Memories or maybe even like Dance Dance off of From Under the Cork Tree. And then there's people who only know Fall Out Boy post hiatus and will look at maybe a song like My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark or Centuries and just automatically assume that Fall Out Boy has nothing else to offer beyond that, or else they didn't have anything in their past. And it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I actually have a funny story specifically to Fall Out Boy and a friend who's kind of like that.
Hmm.
I have a friend, I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he wants his name to be said, but but he like he's not really into music that much, but I saw him like singing Centuries one time while we were hanging out just in the background. I'm like, oh, you like Fall Out Boy? He's like, yeah, Centuries is such a good song. My songs Know What You Did in the Dark. That's another great one. I'm like, you know anything else about him? He's like, no. Well, I've heard Uma Thurman once. I'm like, good job, man.
Oh, one time. Wow.
One time.
Didn't bother to give that one a second listen though.
I mean, knowing him, he probably just hears what's on the radio. But like, if you like a band, go back and listen to them. Don't just kind of be like, oh, this is all they have to offer, because that's something that personally bugs me.
Well, I think that that's kind of circles back to like the whole radio thing and people, hearing things and just I guess popular music and that sort of thing wherever it might be. You're listening to like a top 40 playlist or like hear it in passing on the radio, walking around at the mall, etc. I feel like I came up at a different time in the radio where I feel like it was a little bit more of a diverse market. Whereas today, it's kind of like, not to say that, I was necessarily in a better time, but at the same time, I do like the fact that there were things there was a lot of rock on the radio, there was a lot of pop, there was hip hop, there was a little bit of everything, and I like that there was kind of a melting pot there. And I think that allowed me to kind of get into a lot of genres from a younger age. And once again, this kind of ties into the whole parent discussion because I remember being caught with like a mixed CD. I think it had the likes of like who all was on it? Eminem. Who else? Eminem, 50 Cent, All American Rejects, Fall Out Boy, just a lot, Metallica, a lot of different stuff. And
How do you say Eminem, Beautiful Lullabies?
It was, I believe the song that I had on there was Kim.
Oh, that's a great thing to get your parents hearing you.
Yeah, not so much. The whole part with her being locked in the trunk and the yelling and the cursing, it didn't go over well. I the Metallica song I had on there was a cover. It was The Ecstasy of Gold, and it's like an instrumental, and they didn't like the fact that it was so like heavy and rocking, and it was just bad or evil or something.
Oh yeah, I don't know if my parents would love the fact that I listen to Ghost, a satanic metal band, but I was brought up Jewish, so I don't think they'd care that much either. But
yeah.
It's kind of funny. It's a little bit funny. I have quite a few friends that like Ghost. Not even kidding.
Ghost
Ghost BC.
Yeah, I like them, man. I actually caught them live whenever they played with Avenged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they played with Avenged Sevenfold. Avenged Sevenfold probably still hands down like my favorite concert I've ever been to, just because I was like right at the front in the pit and I could feel the flames coming off of the stage. But Ghost...
that sounds insane.
Yeah, and Ghost opened, and it was just... I felt like Papa Emeritus, or whatever they called the lead singer of the band. I felt like he was like looking into my soul at a few points. It was weird.
No, yeah, but like, it's all very where you come from perspective, how you get into music, and how open you want to be with music.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Because at a point, I would 100% say this might get to you, and this is not my opinion anymore. But 2013, I'd be like, Taylor Swift sucks, and then. Like now, I really like 1989. It's one of my favorite albums of 2014. It's just an awesome album. And, like, opinions change over time, but it's only if you let it. And it's only if you give it more and more listens, more and more revisits, more and more, like, studying and introspect. Because if you listen to an A$AP Ferg record once and say, this sucks, everything can grow on you.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree. And honestly, I feel like... Between 2013 and 2015, I went through a lot of that myself, where some things kind of went out the window for like stuff that I just realized that I was only enjoying because I felt like I should enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Like what?
Like looking back, like bands like Good Charlotte. I'm not that huge on them now, or even Simple Plan, some of their earlier stuff. I used to be really into them growing up.
No, I get that. I wasn't a pop punk fan until about a year ago when I started listening to the Wonder Years and Jeff Rosenstock. I like Green Day. I like a bit of Blink. But speaking of Blink, I'm seeing them this summer. That's gonna be awesome. But
I think we both are.
Neat. But I never really got into bands that are coming out at the time like Rome or Real Friends, or there's just this huge new wave of 2014, 2015, 2016 pop punk bands that I never would have given a listen if I wasn't a little bit more open.
Right, right. I understand that, and I feel like I kind of maybe shut down some of those bands at first. I'm not gonna say that I'm super into any of them, and there's some that I flat out just don't like. But I think that it's come down to the fact that I was maybe basing it off of the fact that older ones are better. The older generation was
Yeah,
better,
yeah,
and
I get that definitely a lot, but like there are a few of them that really stick out to me, like Real Friends or State Champs, and you can tell that these guys know a lot of their old stuff. They know what to do, and they're improving on it in the way they know the best. Like one of my favorite things is emotional pop punk right now. Bands like I know you know Alex, but his favorite band Broadside,
mm-hmm.
love those guys. Wonder Years, Jeff Rosenstock. That's something I've been listening to a lot of right now, and I really love that. I really get into that, and I don't find that a lot. But Real Friends seem to do it a bit, and all of these bands that do that is actually really great. But it's always it always comes back to like where you want to stand on music.
Right. And like you said, kind of how much you want to push yourself with, I guess, what you listen to. And I think that, like I was saying, during that time period in the past, like, couple of years, maybe 2012, 2014, I started not making myself listen to different genres, but kind of naturally just checking out some things that were recommended to me, and whether it be from viewers or maybe watching a needle drop review. And I started sliding in different artists into the rotation that I maybe never would have checked out before, like Sleigh Bells or Purity Ring and Run the Jewels and Kendrick Lamar even. And,
Yeah.
now as some of those albums like Run the Jewels 2 or Good Kid Mad City sit as some of like my favorite rap albums. And if I had never really
Yeah.
pushed myself to try and to get into something a little bit different, maybe something that didn't have guitars or maybe something that wasn't poppy or super accessible, then I don't think that I would have necessarily grown as a critic or just even a music fan.
How I first got into hip hop is one of my favorite artists ever, George Barnett. He's this British pop rock artist that no one cares about or knows about, and he's like an indie artist. I mean, I know you haven't heard of him.
I haven't.
I can 100% confirm that. And I was reading an interview of him, and he said, one of my favorite albums ever is Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And I said, well, this guy that I really like and respect likes it. Maybe I should try it. And now My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is an incredible album. It was one of my first albums I ever got on vinyl. And that record just means a lot to me because it was like my first hip hop record.
Yeah, well, that's a damn good place to start, man. Let's start by saying that. I mean, there's so many good tracks on there. Monster, So Appalled is on there as well, correct? And what else? There's a lot of great songs on that
Yeah.
record. Kanye's discography was one of the first things that I ever went through whenever I was like kind of getting into hip hop a little bit more, I guess, and it was around the time of Twisted Fantasy. So,
And like how I got into different genres depends on different things. Like how a lot of how I got into some jazz was primarily just reviewers recommending these albums, like The Epic by Kamasi Washington. That's like a really reviewer obsessed kind of album. Like Neil Drop, Antoine Fantoine gave it a 9.
mm-hmm.
My friend Sean at Rewind Reviews, he gave it a 9. I was like, wow, this must be really good. So many people are consensually agreeing, like all together, just agreeing that this album is so good. So maybe I should check it out. After finding a time where I can spend 3 hours listening to a jazz album, after I did that, I was like, wow, this is incredible. And you gotta be open like that, because if you don't open yourself to different types of music, you may never find your favorite thing. One of my favorite albums ever is Aphex Twin's Drooks. And I never would have said it. Like, I used to hate electronica. I was like, oh, it's not guitars.
Yeah, they sold out. They put electronics in their music for bands who would do that and like change their style a little bit. Yeah, I know the phase.
It happens. I mean, I really disliked, I said, George Barnett for a while because he went to like this electro indie pop phase of his music. He changes his music a lot. I was like, oh no, ew, disgusting, get that away from me. I want that awesome alternative rock stuff. But like I think it boils down to whether you personally like care enough to push yourself. Because sitting next to me is like the records I picked up this month,
Mm-hmm.
and a few of them are just rock. Two of them are prog metal. One of them is by Bjork. Two of them are just emo rock, like Say Anything, because I saw them, and then the final one is Beyonce.
Ooh, Lemonade.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that
what I
album is
figured.
so good.
Yeah, I was about to say I saw your review, so I figured that would be the Beyonce album that you picked up.
No, yeah,
What do your
and
what do your parents think about all of these record purchases and just the wide range of music? Like, do they look in on like the titles of what you're purchasing at all, or kind of keep
I
up with
mean,
that?
my parents don't really. There was like this little phase where I would like really start buying a lot of hip hop records on CDs, and my mom would always like look it up before I bought it, and she'd always be like, "No," and I'd be like, "Well, I mean, I listen to this a lot anyway. It's not really doing anything." She's like, "Well, okay," and that's how I got Pusha T's album. Uh,
Darkest Before
that
Dawn.
yeah, that album is so good.
It is. I love
Yeah,
that album.
really. Probably would have been a late inclusion on my best list if
Honestly,
hadn't cut that off.
probably me as well. Honestly, at least an honorable mention because I don't know, such a good
There's
like
so many good songs on that record. There's only like one that I don't like. Oh
being.
my god, what's it? Keep dealing.
You
Like the
don't
one with
like
the
Keep Dealing?
no, I forget which one it is. It's like the one with like the really weird like plucky. It's like do, 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 do,
Oh
do,
yeah,
do.
I don't think that's Keep Dealing.
I'm trying to think. It's been forever since I listened to that record.
We might have to
Or
talk more
yeah,
about that later.
but then I like I remember picking up the J Rock record that came out last year. My mom turned to the clerk and she's like, "Have you heard this?" And the guy's like, "No," but like I knew the guy there, and I was like, but
Say it's cool. Say it's
but
cool.
he's like, "No," and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna look this up." We were traveling. She's like, "I'm gonna look this up as soon as we get back to the hotel." I'm like,
Okay.
but
Look up the clean
don't
version.
forget.
And
Forget.
and
Nothing happened.
very good.
But
I'm just yeah. I mean, if she looked up some of these songs on Genius, I mean, not. I mean, like some of the songs surface level may even seem okay, but you know, she kind of clicks on the meanings behind the tracks.
yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
Just get the one with all of Black Hippie on there and every single little reference to every single little
Yeah,
thing.
just
I'll do that.
let her listen
I'd
to
probably
Vice
be
City.
grounded.
Let her listen to Vice City a few times.
Yeah, let that soak in.
Do your parents actively purchase music for themselves or seem super interested in it?
My parents both like music, but my dad kind of doesn't keep up with new music anymore. And if he does, he teaches an exercise class where he like plays music, so he does a lot of pop chart stuff. And here's the thing, actually, we spoke about how the pop charts were more diverse when you were growing up. But one of the most interesting things is it's kind of seen like a rebounding of different styles since 2013. Like a lot of indie pop, a lot of rock, a lot of hip hop, and some good stuff. Like a lot of it's pretty decent too. Has rebounded up on the charts. Like I remember I saw you tweet out something about the song "Roses" by the Chainsmokers,
Mm-hmm.
which is a great song.
Yes.
And I'm surprised that song even took off. Like I do a series called Stopping the Pop where I talk about trends on the pop charts, and I talk about how that song just really feels really too complex to hit the charts. And that's something great about what's happening right now. There's like a very nice change of pace there.
I think a lot of that can be attributed to like places like Spotify or even YouTube where people kind of control by how much they listen to something or how much they share something, how popular something can get and transition over to places like radio and like being used in the background of popular commercials or videos, etc. And Roses is a perfect example because there is some detailed production going on there, and it's just a very,
Yeah.
very, very. I think it's a great pop song, honestly, and I think that it kind of strays away from that. I saw Chainsmokers originally. I think that's why I stayed away from that track because I thought like
Yeah.
Selfie Part 2, what is this? But they've been putting out some quality
Good stuff.
stuff.
Have you heard the song with Dea?
Yeah, Don't Let Me Down. Yeah.
Okay, I have a story. I know Dea.
Really?
She came up. She was born in our town, and there's this project that I write blogs for, at a radio station, and they also run a month or yearly CD submission for youth. She was on there, and I got to meet her quite a few times before she blew up.
Very cool. Please do not tell her that her song Hideaway was on my worst of 2015 list.
Yeah, I slowly lost apathy for that song, and just I slowly was like, oh, cool, I like this person, and slowly started going like, what is this? Why?
Why?
But no, she's a really great vocalist. If you take like if you hear "Don't Let Me Down," the song of the Chainsmokers, you can tell she is a great vocalist on her own.
Right.
She isn't being paired with obnoxious production and
She
terrible
needs
lyrics.
she needs to be handed the right songs, basically, and she can kill it. She can go and kill it if she needs to, and you see that with honestly, a lot of pop singers.
That's true. That's very true.
Well, Ethan, thanks for coming on today, man. If you guys have not checked out the LP Club, aka Ethan, his channel is going to be linked in the description down below. Make sure you go over there, check it out. Maybe subscribe if you like what you see. Is there anything that you want to say about your channel before we go, Ethan?
I pretty much do what you do, just worse.
Ouch.
Album review. Album reviews. I do a series every month called The Record Haul, or no, the Music Spree, where I talk about all the records, CDs, vinyls, etc. I picked up in the month. A few other miscellaneous things, but mainly just album reviews. So yeah, if you want another opinion, definitely check me out.
Well, you heard the man. You heard him. Go check him out. I will link to his Twitter and, of course, his channel down there. And thanks for joining us and listening in on Not a Podcast, Episode 3. We'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, cool, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.